Welcome to All Things ACC Podcast with your host, Patrick O'Brien. Welcome to another All Things ACC Podcast here. I'm your host again, Patrick O'Brien here. I'm joined with a special guest here, one of our writers for All Things ACC, Shaquira Speaks. Shaquira, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you, Patrick?
I'm doing very well, we wanted to talk about a big matchup in the ACC, kind of an early one this week, Clemson versus Georgia Tech. I know this has caught the eye of a lot of people here in the ACC, especially the way that Georgia Tech has been playing and the way that Clemson has been playing, I should say that as well. Last year, Clemson actually took this one 43-24. They went up early, 19-3 after the first quarter, and led 33-10 kind of at halftime, and kind of hit cruise control after them. Probably the most impressive thing that from that game was that the Tigers limited Georgia Tech to only 71 rushing yards, something that's pretty much unheard of under Paul Johnson there on 42 attempts. Watson, he threw for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wayne Gallman was a big part of that in the rushing attack when they racked over 201 yards. The only thing that I could say about heading into this one is that Clemson has actually lost the last 2 times they've been in Atlanta in the last 5 years there. So something to kind of look at here. Shakira's been covering a lot of the Georgia Tech this year for us, for All Things ACC. So I'm going to throw it to her and kind of get her thoughts on the game here, kind of what she's expecting, maybe a little prediction if she's got one, or anything like that, or what some aspects she's looking into the game on Thursday night. So Shakira, what you got for us?
I know that Georgia Tech is going to be coming in. They got a big momentum coming in off of a 3-0 start. They last year they started 3-9, so hopefully they can come in and win the 4th game. And this is ACC play, so they're going to be playing a lot harder, just like they played against Boston College. They had 2 kind of off weeks when they played Mercer and played Vandy. This is a 5th-ranked Clemson team who hasn't quite been playing well. And it's also a Thursday night game. So, a lot of people are going to be watching, so they know they're going to want to put on their A game for everybody watching. They do have the ability to beat them. No team is ever too big. No team is ever too fast. Just look at the Florida State University game when they just played Louisville over the past weekend. Like, nobody thought that was going to be the blowout that it was. But Georgia Tech really has to just go out there. They have to go play. They have to play hard, and they have to execute. They've played 9 times, and they've beaten them 5 times, and Clemson has won 4 times. But Clemson did win the last 3 games, but they were all at Clemson's house. So they've won back and forth, and I really think they can do it. But Clemson has been having some hard times offensively. Troy held them to 25 yards rushing in the first half, which is really, crazy. And the Tigers finished with 122 yards on the ground. And they only beat them by 6 points. It was 30-24, which is crazy. But Georgia Tech is a lot better than Troy, and they're way a lot better than SC State. So I think Clemson will just have to turn it up a notch. They've had a little off week too, especially with South Carolina State.
Yeah. Well, let me get your point of view on this. Georgia Tech, they had that close win against Boston College. Granted that was across half the world there, so it's understandable and everything like that. But they've been only giving up about 10 points per game. They came off, I would say, even though it was against Vanderbilt, that is still an SEC school, they only gave up 7 points. They've only given up about 10 points a game while putting up 30. Something, that's might have caught the eye there. What do you kind of see with this offense, and maybe some things that they're going to be looking at heading against the Tigers on Thursday?
Well, they're going to have to. The Georgia Tech defense is going to have to really stand up. You're going up against a Heisman hopeful, Deshaun Watson. You're going up against somebody that can really beat you through the air by himself. They're going to have to really stop the run game. Like, the way that Georgia Tech can beat Clemson is they got to stop Deshaun Watson. They got to get to him, get in his head fast, and they got to contain him. that's part of the reason why they've been struggling is because Deshaun Watson, whoever the defense that they've been playing against, they've done a really exceptional job of bottling him up and not letting him get anywhere. The Troy game last Saturday, they had 3 consecutive drop passes. And that's just defense. That's just all the defense. Justin Thomas has been gaining more confidence in his offense more than he has last year. And you can really tell that they're actually clicking this season and their 3 wins.
Yeah. What about kind of your thoughts with the Clemson here? Like last year, Watson did his thing. He threw for 265, but the run game for Clemson, both on offense and defense, the Tigers did lose a lot of talent in the NFL draft from last year, but they still have a ton of talent on that defense. I don't think they'll be able to hold them to 71 yards again. I mean, if they did that, that's pretty impressive there. But what do you think on the Clemson side? Just want to get your kind of thoughts on the Clemson side, both offense and defense, what you're kind of going to be looking for besides Watson. I know Watson, I'll be looking for Wayne, the running back there. He had a good game last year. What are some of the things kind of you'll be looking for Clemson besides Watson that could help propel Clemson to take home the road victory?
Well, with their defense, with Clemson's defense, they're going to have to stop Georgia Tech's triple option. And you can tell that a lot of teams, of course, they don't come up against the triple option much, and that's how Georgia Tech wins their games, is because the defenses don't know what to do. However, once you take away the run, it forces Thomas to beat you through the air. And the Clemson front, if they can hold the run, then they'll be good. If the linebackers and corners can hold, particularly Marcus Marshall or possibly Clinton Lynch, they'll be fine. The offense, I am going to be looking for Wayne Gallion to step up and show out. If he's going to want to get through Georgia Tech's defense, he's going to have to get through those holes. He's going to have to find his gaps, and their front 7 is going to have to find their gaps and play their man.
I got you. And I kind of wanted to piggyback on what you kind of said. I marked some tidbits that I was looking for that could be some possible factors heading into this game. Now, even though Clemson, hasn't been totally impressive, I would say, in their first 3 games. But some things I'm going to be looking at is that the Georgia Tech, they've been giving up 190 passing yards a game, which doesn't sound a lot, but you have to look at who they've been playing. The quarterbacks have been completing about 63% of their passes. I think Watson has been only completing about 54 overall this season. So Watson could be coming in, with a secondary that has been giving up, some good big completions and everything. So I would look for Watson, with the deep ball. He has those 3 receivers that we've all heard about with Mike Williams, Artavis Scott, Ray McLeod. Those are kind of the 3 main targets. I'll be looking for them with the deep ball and some, Watson being able to step back. But that's, if Georgia Tech does not get in the backfield. Another thing that I'm going to be looking for, let's see, is that I did mention that the big plays will come into factor, whether it's Georgia Tech's rushing attack or Clemson's offense in general. The Georgia Tech's running backs are pretty young, I would say. Freshman Dedrick Mills, he leads the way. He's only averaging 3.9 yards per carry. But then you have, I think, if I remember, 4 sophomores, including Lynch and Marshall, like you mentioned before. So I would like to see how they step up in a big moment, even though they're really young. That would be something I'm kind of looking at there. Go ahead.
One of the big schools. I am looking for Dedrick Mills to step up. He did have 3 touchdowns against Vandy last week, but he sat out the game before last because he was, violating team rules. So I know he did say that he never wants to do that again, and he does owe his team for doing that to them. So I know he's going to come out and try to show out against this Clemson defense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would say that he would have to be a big part in this rushing attack for Georgia Tech to come away with that win. But on the Clemson side, I'm looking for Gallman. He's been kind of quiet this year so far. He's only averaging about 15 rushing attempts per game right now. I think he might be a bigger factor. Another guy that I'm kind of looking at is Ray McLeod. He's, he not only is I think he has 13 receptions, second on the team in receiving, but he also is a punt returner, averaging about 25 yards per punt return. I think he could be a dynamic, I would say, a change of field kind of guy there. And then the last one I'm looking at, there's two factors that I'm really going to be looking at, and this is coming from last year. Last year when these two teams met, Georgia Tech actually went 1 for 12 on third down. This year they're converting about 54% of those third down conversions here for third down there. That I think will be a huge factor because Clemson converted 10 of 16. That I think has a huge factor determination in what this how this game will go. Not only because Georgia Tech, if they're converting those third downs, they're moving the chains, they're moving the ball, they're keeping that offense off the field for Clemson. But they're also wearing out the defense. Playing that triple option attack, it does wear a defensive line down. Stuff like that. And then the obvious thing is going to be the turnover margin. Clemson was -2 in this category last year. And that was a 43-24 win. Something that I think the Yellow Jackets will have to do. They will have to create turnovers against the Clemson there. I really think that Clemson will show up, kind of prove who they are, what they are, and I think Watson, especially after coming out saying that it's on his shoulders. The team hasn't been focused and stuff like that, and then they turned around and blew out South Carolina State. I think that was maybe like the kick in the right way there. I think if I'm predicting this game, I'm thinking probably 32, probably 23. Kind of that. It could be close and everything at some times, but I think eventually Clemson will take this one on the road there. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I am looking for Ray McLeod to come out and do a lot more than what he did last game. Not saying that he didn't do a lot, but just piling on. I am going to take Clemson in this one just because I just like Clemson. I'm going to take Clemson. I'm going to go 35-31.
Okay, close one. You got a close matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice defensive game. I think Georgia Tech's defense is going to come out and do it like I said, and just contain Watson, contain Wayne, contain Ray. I think they're going to come out and actually play some Georgia Tech ball. I got you.
So you're thinking that maybe the Yellow Jacks might be the real deal this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're looking at them. Like I said, no team is too big, no team is too fast. Just because you're ranked number 5 doesn't mean anything. Like I said, we saw that last week with Florida State. Just because you're ranked number 2 doesn't mean that we're not going to play you like you're not ranked. Like I think they're going to come out and they're going to have a different mindset on them.
Gotcha.
You got to take on everything differently.
Definitely. And like everything, and we've all seen as a sports fan, especially in the ACC, anything can happen, especially on a Thursday night game there. I mean, you see it every year between several different weeks. No team is safe, especially if you're ranked there. Right. Shaquira, I want to thank you for coming on to our podcast this week. We'll be looking for you to some more previews and recaps and some more podcasts that we have with all things ACC. So thank you again for tonight.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
No problem. No. This is another episode of All Things ACC. Check us out a little bit later where we'll recap some other ones and preview some other games heading into the week there. Have a good night.